Good morning, everybody. 4 minutes before retail sales. So let's take a look at that. Pull that up. This is going to be a big number, guys. This is going to be bigger than people think it is. So expect a movement. Now, you had a -6 reading last time, and you're looking for 0.8. So that's going to be a big change in the number. I'm going to go through where I think the levels are and what we should be focused on. But just understand that number in and of itself is absolutely huge, and it's definitely something that we should be paying attention to. I really can't stress that enough. Like, you're going to want to be paying attention to that number pretty closely. I think it's going to be a much bigger number than people think it is, candidly. So just keep that in mind, and we'll we'll sit here and we'll watch and we'll see how that goes. But it's just my opinion of it. Hey, Hunter, I do think that Micron's setting up to break. It does fit the theme with DRAM accelerating. I saw that yesterday, candidly, Hunter, and we'll go over that. We'll definitely go over that today. I think that's a big one to go over, candidly. So let's just let me make sure I have this turned off so that I don't hear the reverb, so I can see the stream on a different computer. Just bear with me 1 second while I throw that on. 3 minutes to this retail sales number, and that's going to be huge. It's definitely a number to watch. There's no question about it. So now you have some data coming out today at 3 o'clock. You're going to have the debt ceiling talks, and I would make sure that you watch that. McCarthy was pretty. Good morning, Darwin. McCarthy was pretty aggressive in his language, and I think that he's going to continue to be aggressive in his language. And I think they're just going to push this down the line for some time. It seems like it doesn't seem like they're really in a hurry to get a lot done, candidly. So. We'll have to see how this plays out, guys. But it's somewhat disappointing, to say the least. So, but let's see how this plays. Now, in regards to S&P, we're watching this level really closely. Doji. If I clean all this off, and I'm going to leave my 9 in just to make my life easier. But if we look at all this and just realize that you haven't gone anywhere, you really have not gone anywhere. Okay. And you go from April, and this is one of the things I pointed out when I was showing this on a monthly basis, but you come here to April and you come across, well, I mean, that's pretty clear what's going on there, right? So when you see something like that, it's definitely something that we want to pay attention to. And I can't really stress this enough. Like, those kinds of blocks, you kind of want to watch them. Now, let me see something here with this. We can change that up a little bit. Maybe we can do something there. The border, yeah, we want the border like that. And the background, let's see if we just do the background white. Yeah, that's so much better, cleaner. So you can see that right there. Maybe we should make that a little darker, so you just at least see that it's there, the background. And maybe we highlight that like that. Yeah, that might be a better way to do it, so that you can see that the color just. Yeah, then you can see the color, the changes in the color, but you can see the outline. So you're in this box, and you've been here for a month. Now, the reason I'm doing this is I just want to point this out again, because it should be glaring to everybody, but sometimes it's not, right? So here you are in March, and that's your low, and here's your high in March, right? So look at your range, and look what's happening to your range and how it's changing, right? And even you go back to February, we're going to see that data. We're going to get to it in a moment and what's going on there. I just want to show you this because I do think this is important. But you go to February and you go to the high of Feb and you go to the low of Feb, and you look at your range versus what you're dealing with now. Very, very different. So let's get to that economic data. Let's drill into it, and let's talk about the market and what the market's doing on it. So you're seeing a huge spike in selling on the news. So let's dig into the news. As I always say, it's more important what we actually do than what it is, right? So what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a miss, and that's going to be ugly on top of Home Depot. So that's not going to be ideal. We're coming in at 0.4 versus the 0.8 estimate. And it looks like they revised 0.7 down. Looks like they revised last month's number even lower. So that's not ideal, but that's where we're at. We're at 0.4%. It's definitely something to watch and pay attention to. Pop that in so you can see that right here. But the actual number is 0.4%. That is lower than the estimate by half, and previous was changed to negative 0.7%. So you missed. It definitely missed. Now the question is, what happens? I don't know. I mean, I think that's a pretty decent miss. You know, I don't know that that's going to be great. Now, I already know this morning you saw JP, well, you might have seen this, but JP Morgan was out pounding the table on this number, saying that it was going to be higher than expected. Well, it's not. So people are going to be out of position there. You're going to have to continue to watch the same key levels here. I'll drill in this on the hourly so that you can see it. But let's just go right here with it. I kind of like what I did there with that box. I think it makes my life a little easier. So, and you should be able to see this, but you're really wedging yourself in there. I mean, you're really getting to that. Now, you have a level here, right? And that's going to be something. And then obviously you have this level as well. And you can see how you're boxed in there. I'm not so sure that we got to do anything there, except let it play itself out, guys. I really don't know that there's a need to do anything there except let it play itself out. You know, this may be a nothing burger today, but to me, it's a big deal, that miss, because it just shows that consumers getting weaker, which kind of fits with what we've already seen, right? We've already talked about the consumer getting a little weaker. We've talked about that and how that's, you know, how we're starting to see that. So I think that that's something to pay attention to personally, but you know, we'll have to see how everyone else feels about it. To me, I don't know why. I don't know how you could look at that and then feel like, you know, things are good, I guess, is kind of where my head is. Give me a second here. Let me see if I can pull this down for a moment. Let me move this, try to get this drawing tool. I found this really cool drawing tool yesterday, and let's see if I can get it working today. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. So it just helps me highlight things. But if we look at what's going on, I mean, you hardly did anything on the news, which is kind of surprising, really, isn't it? Because you would have thought you would have had a much stronger move. So this may be delayed a little bit, this move. That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if this move's just going to be, you know, a little delayed. So we'll have to see. But it seems to be for now. We'll have to see how that plays out and then kind of go from there. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, I don't really see much, guys. I'm kind of surprised that that's all we're getting, candidly. I would have thought, like, you know, you would have gotten some major reaction. Now here we're starting to get something right there. You're starting to form a little bit of an H. You've only had one green bar. So what you would do is you're just probably going to want to watch how we act at that green bar. And if we take out the low of that green bar, this might get a little ugly. So it's not good numbers. They're just not. They're not good numbers. So, you know, you're not going to want to really rush in here. You're going to want to watch see this plays out. Wow, NVIDIA just nice move at the end of the day, huh? But now you can see that you're paying for that. So yeah, I just wouldn't be in a hurry here, guys. I would just be watching the world go by. Now, you're already seeing it, like this 24 level, watching on AI. So, yeah, you're going to want to watch the big guys that ran yesterday and seeing how they're acting on this. Monday kind of ran up towards the end of the day after just completely imploding. You saw a lot of that yesterday. Just complete implosions to just running. It's crazy. I mean, that's a really tough thing to buy, like super tough. There's nothing to that when you really look at it. It's getting some other names. So I'm always asked about Tesla, and then we'll start drilling into other names. But for me, Tesla, candidly, it's something that I'm short already. I think I've been pretty vocal about that. I was talking about it last night as well. And I got to get used to this new drawing, or I got to get rid of it, this new mouse. But I kind of like it. It makes my life a little easier bonking around. If you take a look at this, I would just watch that 168.5 level. If I can't get above that, I have very little interest in closing my puts and very little interest in closing my short position. All I see is us trying to get levels, and we're just unable to get anywhere over and over again. I mean, even if you come here on the hourly, and I'm going to leave pre and post in right now, even if you come here and you just take a look at that, right, you can just see that level over and over again and how it's becoming a battleground. For whatever reason, this 167.80 is becoming a battleground, and that's definitely something that we're going to want to watch and see how it acts. But that's really what I have. I mean, I have a bunch of names that I can go over, but overall, I think it's really hard to look at this market and say that you look that bad. I mean, this 306.86, if we take a look at it, you've just resistance has flipped to support, which is exactly what we want. Look at NVIDIA, very similar to that 280 level. 282 is really what I've been watching. Just watch this level here at 282 and how you held. Now you got to this 280 right the other day down here, right? You can see how that's important. But as soon as you get down into this box right here, that's it. It seems to be a resistance or a support, and it seems right now that it's a support. So that's really what you want to see. You want to see if you can get those sell-offs and then maybe get involved in those names. AMD stopped. 95 was really a key level for me that I was watching right here. I'll show you that level right there. But you started really seeing it even come in even more, and you're not really seeing these wicks break. But 93 3/4. For whatever reason, that's a level we need to watch on this name. When it gets there, we start to see some kind of bounce. So that's what I'm focused on. I really like the Google, but you're kind of running out of a little bit of steam here. And I'm not really sure what the next catalyst is going to be. I'm really not. You could see biotech a little weaker today on the HZPN news. The fact that this might not go through is going to be somewhat devastating. So I think that that's a key issue. The Fed speakers today have been leaning towards a pause, and that's really good for regional banks. So we'll kind of see how they play themselves out right now. But it's very, very good for regional banks. And if they start cutting rates, which they're supposed to do by September, even though a lot of people are saying that they're not going to, no matter how that plays out, just not raising rates is going to give banks some breathing room. Just the idea that they're not raising rates. Wall was the one that I thought might be next. It doesn't look like it's going to be next. This is kind of interesting, right? Came right back down to that level. Test 32, back down 26. So you're kind of wedged in here on this name. You're going to want to watch these levels. Watch how you respect this 32. Watch how you get through this 26, 33. They're pretty big levels, guys, and they're levels that I would watch. They're levels that I'm watching, that's for sure. And there are certain regionals I like, but very different than what people are chasing right now. I'm trying to see if there's something else out here that I think is just like really absolutely glaring. The SRPT was interesting because you ran and then you just kind of pulled back and then you just kind of went sideways on the hourly. Now, if I look at this on a 15-minute, it looked like an EKG chart, right? Like, I mean, you ran up, you looked like you were going to break, you broke down. And then as soon as you got over that 154.88 level, you kind of ran, but you're back at it. So I don't know that I'd be chasing anything in this market. You're going to have to deal with some things today. Retail is going to be weak. So you're seeing names like Home Depot, like you're seeing that rally a little bit here. I'm not sure that continues to rally. Lowe's, I'm not sure that that's going to rally here. I mean, Lowe's is going to be coming out with earnings very shortly, and Lowe's usually is worse than Home Depot. and it's next week. They're usually worse than Home Depot. And the reason is because Home Depot gets the contractors. So if Home Depot's weak, Lowe's is usually weak. Now, tomorrow, you have Target. Now, based upon Home Depot and the problems they just had in the electronics space, if you go through their research or you go through their earnings report where there was weakness, this does not bode well at all for Target, not even a little bit. And that's definitely something that we have to take a look at and go from there. It's definitely something I'll be paying attention to. We'll kind of go from there. So let's see what happens with it and figure it out. But I do like this, and I think that this looks really good. As a possible, short. I don't think I could be any clearer about it. I mean, there's nothing really redeeming about this. Like, let me show you what I mean by this. Let me be real specific here instead of getting really too deep on it. Like, when I start breaking these levels and then I can't get over these levels, I really need to pay attention. Now, something else that I pay attention to is how are we acting, right? Like, what is the long-term trend and how are we acting on that? Let me show you what I mean by that. So you go here, we put this SMA in, and then you just kind of look at that and go, well, we broke it, and then we're kind of stopping right there, right before earnings. You start looking at some of these earnings blow-ups here, here. I mean, they're not what you would call ideal, right? So I would be real careful here, really careful. To me, this is kind of setting up for like a perfect short, like right into resistance, and then you break. Now, I don't know that Walmart's going to have the same problems. Usually what happens is Walmart sells down, right? Like, this was Walmart with a really bad earnings call, right? The same time Home Depot did about a year ago. And this is what I think they're going to do. I think they're going to wind up revising the numbers and saying the recession's back here and it's behind us. But if you take a look from that on, it didn't matter what Target did. Walmart beat over and over again, right? Every time. So when you start going through it, every time they beat, except for here. So they got it together. They figured it out. I think that's an important distinction because I think the opportunity might be to buy Walmart tomorrow for a trade if Target implodes. That's kind of where my head is with it. I think that might make sense. We've seen it play out in the past 3 quarters. It's a little speculative, but I think that might make sense. So I've got a ton of names to go over, but let's take some questions. I think I went over the big hitters, and we can open it up now for a little bit and go from there. So let's see where we're at. Let's see what questions we have. So UPST for a day trade. Well, this deal that they got seems very intriguing to me. Here's how I would look at this. So here is your 200, right? That you've not closed above, okay, since probably it started, right? I mean, maybe after you got through 200 days back here. So let's just take a look at that. So you must have, right after 200 days. So where's 200 days? So you might never have even been above this. So you would have been here on your 200 days, right? From a 200-day moving average from back here. So here you would have had your 200. So you've rarely been above, if at all, your 200-day moving average, right? If at all, if you've even were above it here. Now, why am I pointing that out? Well, I'm pointing that out because you're finally above it. And yeah, I understand that we're in a major downtrend. I'm just going to point this out. Oops, I got to get used to this, but I do like it. I'm going to point this out, right? So I'm sure we all saw this already, but let's just put it in there, right? Just in case we didn't say it, just go from there, right? So, okay, perfect. So let's get rid of one of these for a moment, and let's get rid of this for a moment so we can just see this. So here you are, Cam, right? And I'm sure you already saw this. And what you're doing is now you're flipping, right? So this is your DTL, downward trend line, right? And then you're flipping right here for the first time. Okay, that is your first higher high, and it happened yesterday. The same time that it happened yesterday, you're closing above your 200-day. What you want to do is close above your 200-day. Optimally, what you want to see here, I'll show you. Optimally, what you want to see is this, right? You want to put yourself in a position where you're going to get some kind of bar like this, right? And then when you have that, that's what I would like to see. And then I'd like to see something where you get, they should have an auto click on this. They probably do, and I just don't understand how to use it. And you see how you have a breakout? Like, that's what you want, Cam. I don't know what we're going to get. I mean, it was a pretty big deal. I'm wondering what the catalyst is going to be that's going to move us higher, right? Because we had a nice move yesterday in this name. I'm just trying to figure out, is the market going to be able to take us higher? I'm not so sure that it is with that retail sales number in Home Depot. This could be a pretty weak day. You rally up yesterday. Everybody thinks that it's, we're back. And then now they sell off again. Then everyone thinks, everyone's so extreme with their readings right now. So I would watch this. Do I think there's a day trade there? Yeah, there's definitely something there. I mean, when you start going through this and you start looking at the increase in volume after earnings, yeah, there's something there. I mean, there's no question about it. So it's definitely something that should be on your radar. There's very little doubt about that. Very little doubt for me about that anyway. So I do like it, and I do like the volume, Cam. So down a little more. Yeah, but I think you're going to come in. I think you're going to come in a little bit here. Now, LEGN, I like. I just have so many of these little biotechs that I just didn't want to buy another one. But, I mean, this was perfect. That was the secondary, the day they said they were pricing the secondary at 64. A week later, you're up pretty big on that. So I don't think there's really much to do there. I really don't. I mean, you can buy that if you want to buy a flag breakout. I don't know that I feel like buying another one of these guys right now. I mean, I have a lot of these little names, and it's a nice stock, but, what are we trading? I mean, when I really started looking at it, like, what are we trading? I mean, we're not even trading like $40 million a day, right? Your average volume is what? This is your average. So let's say you're a million. So, and that's based upon this spike. If you would go before that spike, you're at 6, 7, but say a million. I mean, you're trading $70 million a day. I don't know. I'd be careful, I think. I'd be a little careful of that. I think that's one of the things that bothers me about it is just the vol. But chart looks great, man. That could go. WDC, all these legacy names look great. They all moved yesterday. They're all setting up. I need it above its 200-day. But they're all setting up, all those legacy names. It's like corporate spending is going to increase the way they're acting. But that was the only sector that was actually better than semiconductor equipment manufacturers yesterday. If you go through like MarketSmith or IBD and you look at their, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong thing. I apologize. Thanks, guys. Thanks. I saw the messages lighting up. Sorry. Let me go to UPST again and go from there. And let me clean this off. This is the problem when you have like 6 monitors open. So sorry, guys. My bad. All right, let's get back to UPST. Let me start over here. So with UPST, what I'm getting at is you have all this volume, right? And all your volume's picking up. And at the same time, you're trying to get above that 200-day moving average. And when you're getting above that, that's what you really want to pay attention to. So, I can't stress that enough, Cam. Like, you really want to watch this volume. You want to watch that break. I'll show you the DTL again because that's pretty significant. We don't really need to go back to that level. We're just going to go to here, right? And just, so again, I'm pretty sure you already saw this, Cam. But if you take a look at this, all right, you can see that. And then the point that I was getting at was this, was right here. And what is it without what is the pre-market show without a technical blunder? It's just boring, right? So if you look at that and you're coming across there, that's your first DTL break. Now, you're over, right? But I'd like to see the higher high for the confirm. But I like it. And what I'd really like to see, where I was going with this, Cam, was here. So I'd like to see something like that, but I'd like to see maybe this first, like one bar just sitting there. And then the next one breaks out. That would give me more of a base, more of a support, more of a pattern that I like. I don't like just buying the higher high. It hasn't really been working for me. It really has not been working. I'm just going to clean that all off. So I see it. I like it. I'd like it to base and form a pattern and go from there. So let's get back into what else from digital, and then let's get into LEGN. So these kinds of names were the only names that outperformed yesterday. This sector, this legacy sector, was the only sector that outperformed semiconductor equipment manufacturers yesterday. So I get it, but they're going up on CapEx. So to me, the idea of CapEx is kind of crazy, right? So I'm just not really sure how we're going to, hold on one second here. I'm not really sure how we're going to, go there. Like how do we play those? Like, are we going to see CapEx increase? Like how are we going to see business CapEx increase? Right? Like, what am I missing? These are all those names, like Oracle. Like, what am I missing? Why are they going higher? Right? I don't have a reason for it. Like these go up when business CapEx are going to go up. Right? Someone needs 4,000 new Dell computers, that kind of thing. Someone needs storage, Western Digital. I don't get it. So I don't know. I would just avoid them until I understood it. Now, this is LEGN. This is what I was talking about. Like, you hardly have any volume, right? I mean, like you're spiked up. This 8 million day, it changed your whole volume. Like, if you start looking at the volume in here, like yesterday, I'll give you an example. Okay, you traded, let's call it 500,000, right? I mean, you're trading 30 million a day. Sometimes you're trading 70 million a day. Like, this thing could get ugly, have a really ugly day because it's so thin. Now, maybe that's an issue. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's an issue that for me and how my mind works, but I don't know. I mean, it's beautiful. That mark was right where to buy. That was the secondary. And when they priced it and people saw the size, they could see that they were not going to do the deal. Like, they were not going to get their fill. And from there, we just exploded. Now, this is where to buy it. The way that I trade is I don't even read all the news during the day. I don't have the time. But if someone read that and understood it, they could have done quite well with it. So that was a mistake on my part. I just, I trade so much. I just literally don't have the time to read all the news. I just look at the price and go from there. But if you take a look at this and you see how this goes, I'm hard pressed to tell you not to be interested. But where's my breakout volume? Like, I just don't have that. So, pardon me, guys. Man, when they say this cough's going to linger, this cough's going to linger. So, let's get into this and get back to it. So, let's get into this because this name's really interesting. Hunter's idea of Micron. I'd like to address that. You know what? I think I can do this. Hold on one second. I think I can do this. Bear with me one second. I'm trying something technical, so we all know how that goes. So if you click on this image, well, let me find it. Make sure I don't have anything weird on here. There we go. If you click on that, you'll get that newsletter and you'll get the 20 charts I did on Saturday. If you click that right there. I'll just leave it up for a second, but I guess I'm not going to keep moving it. Let's talk about Micron, but I'm trying to figure out different ways to put this up on the screen the whole time overlays and things like that. I mean, it's so low on my totem pole, to be quite honest with you, but I know it would help people. Apparently the kids today like their Q codes. So these are all the names. You might want to screenshot this. These are all the names that are in the semiconductor equipment space. Okay. That's all of them. And I would strongly suggest that you make a list of those names, and you can go do that, on your own time, but just screenshot it. Now, to answer Hunter's question, I say it. It's very hard not to see this, Hunter. So what we're looking for is what's going to be our catalyst. Well, bonk, 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 right? I mean, this looks like LRCX all over again. I mean, it looks exactly like it, right? It's that VCP pattern that everyone talks about. It's very hard to miss what's going on here, Hunter. And I think you're 100% right. I think this should be on your radar. So, I mean, and here's another thing that's just, if you ever see this, pay attention. So, you know what? I'll show it this way. Let me remove all this. If you ever see this, you pay attention. So you take your low, right, from that December, and you come here, and then you see how the chart changes, right? And then you see this, right? That's what you want to see. When the trajectory starts to change like this, and you start sloping and your gradient changes, that's what you want to see, right? That's everything. And now you put this on top of it. Now, what's interesting about yesterday's close, and I was looking at this, so you were higher than all these closes. Every single one of these, Hunter, boom, 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 you were higher than. The only one you weren't was back here. You'd have to go to August. But if we flip this today, I want to just go through this. You're almost at 52-week highs. By June, if your price stays here, you're at 52-week highs, right? All you have to do is go up just a little bit. So, I mean, I'm having a real tough time, guys, with people talking about we're going to go back to lows when you have semiconductors like Lam Research yesterday hitting a 52-week high. I just don't know what everybody's saying, that when you start looking at these kinds of names and saying, oh, well, the equipment manufacturers are starting to hit 52-week highs. Well, we're probably going to test the lows. Like, you can't even say those two sentences together. I like your idea, Hunter. I think it's a great idea. Home Depot forecast came in was bad. I don't think it affects the home builders. No, it's a good question, John. I don't think it affects the home builders. I think it could affect the home builders today. I'll just buy more of them. It could absolutely affect them, right? But, it depends on the ones you're trading too. That GB, GPRK, GRBK, like this one. Yeah. I mean, you're trading at 2 times book value. Yeah. This is a matter of time before that gets smoked. It just is. That's going to just get crushed one day. So super thin. You got a lot of people in there that are all like kind of piled in that trade. It's kind of big social media name. But you start going through some of these names and you realize that like BZH is still under book value, meaning you could buy the company, take the assets and split it up. So it's a huge discount to book value. So I don't know that I think that long-term it's going to affect it. I read some really positive notes on the home builders today. Toll Brothers, we bought at 47. Everybody told me I was nuts and that we're going to wait to see the next housing crash. And nobody really understood that you have so much demand and you have so little supply. 48% of the population out there has a house and has a mortgage, has that mortgage under 3%. I can't tell you how many people are in our community, in the Alpha Chasers community, that will say things along the lines of, oh, I'd like to move, but I've got a 3% mortgage. Like, they know that they're not going to go anywhere. Now, what could change is there's some talk of a transferability of a mortgage. If they could start doing that, that'd be very interesting. So that would probably affect the housing market to the downside, actually. Even though you think you're going to have more buyers, you're going to have more people that are going to sell their house than before. So supply would increase. So that's very interesting. If that happens, that could be a problem with my home builder thesis. But, I don't think I think I've been talking about home builders for over a year. I mean, it's very hard not to like the home builders. Very hard not to like these names. I mean, absolute monsters. And I see no reason for that to change. None. I just don't. You know, there's no homes. You have 48% of the population that's not going to sell their home, right? Days on market is actually decreasing. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy. So, what's up, Amp? Yeah, let's do some of these and then. No, I mean, I wouldn't go near this. Did it kind of earnings or something? I mean, it's not my kind of trade. I wouldn't go near that. They're just setting you up, in my opinion. I mean, you're right in the resistance and you're going to get involved. Like, you're right there, man. Come on. There we go. So, I mean, it's not my kind of trade. Maybe it goes. I get it. Bonk, bonk, right? And then you're breaking out. I get it. You can try. It's just not my kind of trade. Sophie, here's the thing about Sophie. I watch a lot of these guys that are, younger, and they write these newsletters and they're like, oh, it was a great earnings call. Nobody wants their loans. So when you have to understand something. When you go out there and you start writing loans to increase your revenues, right? Like, this is what people have to understand. See how these revenues are up and everything? Well, that's because they increased their loans, right? They started lending more money. The problem with that is nobody wants their loans. So if you can't sell your loans, all you're doing is locking up your own capital. And that's exactly what happened with UPST before, right? That's what happened with UPST at 400. Right? That was the break. The real break here. Let me show you this. So the real break right here, right in this section, that's when they couldn't sell their loans. And everybody was saying, oh, it'll be okay because now they're going to hold their loans. No, their claim to fame was that we can determine the pricing of loans better than anybody else. And we have the best loans. And then all of a sudden they couldn't sell their loans. And that's why it lost 100 points in a day, right? And that's one of the reasons why you're seeing PayPal come in, right? It's one of the reasons. I mean, you can see that. It's an absolute disaster, right? That's why PayPal's coming in the way it is, okay? When you start seeing this stuff like PayPal, Square, okay, that's because they got into the, quote, loan business. So Sophie all of a sudden increased its loans, but nobody wants them. Okay, so that means they stay on their books. That's not a company I'm going to bottom feed off of. I would strongly suggest you look at that, what I'm explaining on these names, because it's a real threat, without a doubt. So SPY, I will knock around. I think the consumer's okay. Consumer debt always goes up, though. You have more people. Coco, I don't know. I've been watching that name. Laura. I mean, it looks good. Just good earnings. I don't know. I mean, it's not my kind of name, but it could definitely work. Let's see what's going on with the weekly. I mean, it's kind of hard not to like that, right? I think you're a little late to the party. I mean, that's pretty clean. That opening price. Rallies can't hold, tries to rally through, can't hold that open. And then once you flip that open, that was it. So from that standpoint, yeah, I get it. That I like. But you kind of have to watch here. I don't know that I'd be buying that up here. I mean, maybe it keeps going. You have nothing but blue skies, but you're way up off any kind of level. I mean, here's a flag. You could have bought the flag breakout. You could have bought this when it broke over. I don't really know what your edge is right now in that trade, Laura. Let's go through this. IONQ. Let's take a look. We're looking at that last week, weren't you, Steve? Yeah, I mean, I get it. I see the move, earnings, and I guess you flipped on earnings. That's why you're up. I don't know. It's not my kind of trade. The volume's big. Let's do SE, SM. I'll be in it until it's merged. I might even own the merged company. I'm not going to be able to get through all these. SE, TSM, ON, ON. I know. I'm just going through these. That Terry, that spinoff. Yeah, I like that spinoff. It's acting well. I didn't talk about IEP. I think Disney has more downside. Let's talk about this. Monster, that drink spot is that. Oh, is that what it is? Is that what it is? It's a quantum computing play. That could move. That space is next after AI. So that could move. I didn't know that's what it was. That quantum computing is going to be absolutely huge. I mean, I think that could be just as big as AI, if not bigger. So, all right, I'm going to have to jump here. Let's do SE. So I like the name. I know you had earnings. 88, where we closed. 81. You know, they just didn't go very well. So, you know, I don't know. I'm not going to try and catch that knife. You know, it's not really for me. You know, I need to be above 82.40. Taiwan Semi is probably a really good idea. So a lot of people are just pulling out because they're scared to death of China. I do not think China is going to invade Taiwan. I think they watched what happened with Russia. And I don't think they want any part of that. Right? They definitely don't want the world not buying their goods. Right? So I think they watched Russia really closely, and I think that's why they're doing what they're doing. But I'm going to have to jump here. I do want to do IEP because I talk about it a lot. But I like that name, and I think you'll trade back up, and I think that they're completely overblown. I understand why people don't want to invest in Taiwan Semi, because you could come in one day and it could be down 20 points, right? If they invaded, the stock would get hammered. So I want to talk about this. IEP. So this is your breakdown. This is your anchored V up to that breakdown, and that's where you rejected. Okay. That tells me everything I need to know. For now, I still have people in here with weak hands. So I could bounce around in here from 34 to 30. So you're going to want to be really careful with this name. Okay. Because you could absolutely come back down. You could absolutely have some news. As tough as he is, of course, he's got enemies. He's got people that are going to want to screw with him if they can. I'd be real careful betting against the guy. You know, I'd be real careful. I expect more shenanigans like this, like companies in the portfolio just all of a sudden throwing money at him. You know, that's what I would be, you know, concerned with. This is something I bought yesterday and held. So keep that in mind, and we'll go from there. All right, I got to jump, guys. Have a great day. Trade to win. Oh, for those that are interested, link in description. The wait list is back open for the room. I agree with that, Russ. I agree with that. I don't think people fully understand that yet. I do agree with that. We're all worried about AI and what AI is going to do. Quantum computing is going to be light years ahead of it, in my opinion. Have a great day, everyone.